Thank you, Henry. Thank you for reminding me. So let's go ahead and get started. I want to devote a good portion of this meeting to report from Dr. from our doctor, good doctor here today. He and I had a great conversation earlier, and he's got lots of stuff to talk about, as well as probably some great opportunities for sharing and so forth. So I want to make sure we have plenty of time for that. But before we do that, I wanted to see if we have Les. I know you're new to us. You want to introduce yourself a little bit, please?
Sure. I'm Les Smith with GSW Telecom. I guess I've been in Arizona about 28 years, worked for various carriers, and we built thousands of miles of fiber with whether it was MCI, Sprint, Time Warner Telecom. I was a VP. So just quite a background in this industry, and excited to be on the call and see if there might be some opportunities for us to get engaged and help.
Yep. So Les, I don't know if you remember this or not, but I think you gave me my first email and my first internet connection.
I do remember that, and it's money well spent. We both had more hair, but we're still here.
and I don't know if you ever knew this, Les, but I think you gave me a wireless connection at the time, and I was living in a townhome, and they came over to me and said, "I'm sorry, but you have to take the antenna down." And I said, "No, I'm sorry, but the federal law requires that I can keep it up there." They didn't like that, but that was life as it was.
Reality, yeah. Brought them around.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So do we have anybody else new today that I've missed? Okay. So Sean, you want to give us a quickie update on NTTA and the conference, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So NTTA is the Tribal Broadband Summit. It is at the Wild Horse Pass Hotel and Casino, Gila River Indian Community. It's August 28th through the 30th. And basically, it's just a summit focused on helping tribes identify funding sources, build, maintain, monetize a network, and plan for the future of broadband. NTTA as a whole puts that on. Calix is the main sponsor, along with some additional sponsors. But I've done it personally for a few years now, and we've had a lot of success, and we're seeing the communities grow, obviously.
Okay. Thank you, Sean. So Eric Martinez, do we know you?
Hello. So I am actually one of the new part of the new team here at Chicanos por la Causa. I am a digital coordinator, part of the team of 3 here. Nubia is also on the call with us. She is our ACP administrator, and then Betty, who had a half day today, she is also one of our coordinators with NCPLC.
Great. Welcome. Glad you're going to join us today.
Thank you.
You guys are great partners. We really appreciate it. So is there anybody else new that I've missed? If not, let's go ahead and get started with some updates. Cindy, you want to give us an update on what's happening with the broadband office, please?
Yeah, sure. Things are really moving along. BEAD is coming along well. They've just hired a new.
Excuse me, Cindy, can you just tell people who you are quickly?
Oh, geez. Yep. I'm Cindy Hogan. I work with the Arizona Commerce Authority. That's where the broadband office in Arizona is housed, and I'm the digital equity program manager. They just hired a broadband program manager as well. She was promoted from within the ACA. Her name is Perla Lopez. So the team is really rounding out with some really dynamic people, and things are going well. I don't have a whole lot more detail than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah,
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Any questions for Cindy? Hearing none.
Steve, I just posted a link. I think people have asked before where they can see states' plans, and the answer has been it's anecdotal. You follow some policy news sources, they're individually announced, but now there is a consolidated NTIA site. I just discovered it. So all the submitted plans for both BEAD and digital equity are made available as soon as they open for their comment periods.
Right.
And you can
Perfect.
sign up to get updates. So nothing from Arizona there yet, but that question's been asked before.
Okay, thank you. Anything else about that before we move on? So Karen is not here today. So Cindy, do you have anything more about any of the roundtables or anything that you
I
need to
guess I could
share?
say we are wrapping up the listening tour, the cross-state listening tour. We're going to be out in the western part of the state in La Paz County, Mojave County, and Yuma County next week. That there'll be three more pairs of events. And I'll also put the link to the survey page in the chat. We are trying to do trying to get a digital equity survey out across the state to be sure that we have the data that we need to really understand what's going on throughout the state. And so I'll find that and put that in the link. You can give it to anybody. There's links to there's two surveys. One is for community members and one is for community organizations. So we can kind of hear what's going on in both of those realms. And they're in multiple languages. At least the community member one is in multiple languages. So there's a drop down and you can take it in Spanish and Navajo and a bunch of other languages. So that's pretty good. And I'll get that link in the chat.
Okay, and it's also in the emails that I've sent out, Cindy.
Excellent, excellent. Yep. Appreciate
and I will
you doing
again when I
that.
send the update again.
Excellent. They're due on August 15th.
Okay. Any other announcements before we get into the main part of the program? We'll do some updates a little bit later, Mala and so forth. But I would like to get into the highlight of the day. So anything else that we need to know about before we move on? Okay. Well, with that, I want to again reintroduce Dr. Brian Carter, who is the principal investigator. Is that the correct term, Brian?
Yes, it is. That's great.
For the University of Arizona had received a $3 million grant for internet and digital inclusion in Southern Arizona. As I was talking with Brian today, that he's one of the few places in the state where they actually developed a grant that included both internet and digital inclusion as a part of their overall program. And I think it's a great model for consideration throughout the state. And in part of our conversation, and he can certainly speak to this more, but in our conversations, there's things like the telemedicine, Mala, the telemedicine project that you guys are working on, and Robert, all the ACP and other initiatives that you're working on, particularly in Southern Arizona, and a lot of the other things that are going on, Connect Pima, all of those things have some relevance for the work that Brian's doing. So with that, Brian, I'm going to shut up and let you kind of take over and share whatever you'd like to share.
Thank you very much, Steve, for the great introduction. Do you mind if I share my screen? I have one slide I'd like to show. Great, thank you so much. Let's see, share, and this is the one. Great. All right, so first of all, thank you all very much for the time again today. For those of you that were here when we first introduced this project back in, was that February or so, Steve, or March, something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. This is sort of an update to that, and to give you further introduction, I'm Brian Carter. I'm a professor in the Africana Studies Department, also the director of the Center for Digital Humanities here at the University of Arizona. And I and a number of colleagues, a very, very talented team of folks, put together this grant for the NTIA. And the grant area that we were awarded had several stipulations to it that were rather unique. First of all, in order for a university to apply, we had to be within any organizations had to be within a 10-mile radius of the university or any of our satellite campuses. So we were very fortunately able to include Thatcher, Douglas, and Yuma as part of our satellite, and Pasquayaki as our satellite organizations. And then our community partnership is with the Dunbar Pavilion here in Tucson. The Dunbar Pavilion being the formerly historically segregated school that has now turned into a community anchor or community center here in the historically African-American neighborhood. And so we have a lot of very interesting and exciting plans with all of these sites that encompass exactly what Steve said, both broadband connectivity, which allows for each of these sites to have expanded network access, which will then allow the individuals at those locations to receive STEM programming that previously they were not able to receive as effectively. So we're very fortunate to be able to expand our programming there. We also hope to be able to expand some of the social sciences and humanities oriented courses to those locations as well, now that the network and the platform and the infrastructure will be available to them. We also are working with our library, which is another rather unique aspect of this, which incorporates the digital inclusion aspect of this grant. We found that we had, of course, everyone learned a lot of lessons during the COVID pandemic. And we found that, of course, our students, in addition to having lack of access to broadband, had lack of access to the computing devices that would allow them to access the materials on that broadband network. Very fortunately, our library partner, Travis Teeter, was able to put together a very, very compelling package that included a technology kit that we're going to be able to distribute to students in various socioeconomic income brackets to include, I believe, Pell Grant recipients. And they'll be able to keep these kits for their entire academic career as long as they remain in good standing, I believe it is. That kit includes a laptop computer, a router, a webcam, headphones, and other aspects that would allow them to access the broadband network, both wired and wirelessly, which will allow then for those students to access all of the content that we hope to be able to deliver. At the Pasquayaki site, I believe they're working with both our network as well as Cox. And then at the Dunbar Pavilion, we'll be working with Cox to expand the broadband access there. Now, the Dunbar Pavilion is where we're really excited about the level and the type of programming that we'll be incorporating, because there is where we expand on the digital inclusion aspect of this particular grant. That programming includes workforce development, financial literacy, as well as healthcare oriented courses, but also productivity development, creativity development, as well as being able to have those courses developed and made available to not only the Dunbar community, but also the rest of our network in perpetuity, but using advanced technologies in addition to traditional means of delivery. And when I say advanced technologies, I mean immersive technologies, as well as things like volumetric or holographic technologies, and augmented and virtual reality. So when I think about the ways that maybe a younger demographic might be attracted to those kinds of workforce development oriented courses, we wanted to make them available in a manner that may be suitable for a demographic that is more future leaning, perhaps, or that would at least incorporate the option of taking a course either in a traditional means using perhaps some sort of learning management system and video, or immersively if it's suited for that particular course. And we'll be using various assessment means to figure out which technologies are most applicable to or most appropriate for the various courses that we'll be developing within the workforce development and financial literacy, et cetera. Here's where also we're very excited to be working with El Rio Health in order to look at some telemedicine options for the community as well. Looking at robots, we have access to a couple of very interesting mobile assistants that are HIPAA certified, so that we'll be able to maybe incorporate some of the telemedicine aspects there, as well as doing things with augmented or holographic technologies. And we're very excited to be working with El Rio to research some of the more effective ways to reach communities that may not necessarily have regular access to healthcare oriented programming. So being very excited about stabilizing those sets of courses that we'll make available at Dunbar, which will then distribute to the rest of our network. And keeping in mind that when we first developed this, we weren't just thinking about the this particular project in sort of a capsule, so to speak. There's another grant that the National Science Foundation offers called Smart and Connected Communities. And I understand that there are several other NTIA grants available that have been already awarded here in our state, as well as other initiatives that, of course, we have all been made familiar with and that are emerging, that are, I think, are proving to lay a very, very interesting foundation. And now to connect all these different communities might be a very interesting additional path. We've applied for the Smart and Connected Communities grant in the past, and thinking more broadly about how we might now connect these communities with one another through our broadband networks is really, really exciting for our team, and hopefully we'll be able to get some of you involved. I've already met with several of you, and we're very excited for the emerging partnerships to help develop some of the program or be a part of some of the programming that we're developing at Dunbar and for the rest of our network. And I'm definitely open to talking with even more of you about how we can get you involved, if possible, in some of our programming initiatives. So that's the overview of our grant. We did run into, as Steve was telling me earlier, that other awardees have also experienced a little bit of a delay in being able to actually start spending the money. We received this grant in January. We were notified of it a few days later, and then it took all the way until maybe perhaps April or May before we could actually start spending some of the money, or before we got permission to spend some of the monies because of the various paperwork trails that had to be done, and all the things that deal with a large government grant like this that we're learning as we go. We do understand that that NTIA is also relatively new at this, and so they were also learning as they were going. I think we had a change in program managers, and so I think all of that now hopefully is a bit more stable, and we'll be able to go into the new semester with full speed ahead and be able to really do some good in the community. So that's our grant. That's an overview of it, and I'd love to entertain any questions that you may have. We were able to get a program manager hired, as well as we're looking for site coordinators for these various locations, and we were able to at least get some of the allocations expended so that the library could begin purchasing their materials, as well as some of those materials in the digital classrooms at our 5 partner sites. So I'm open for questions, and thank you, Steve, for the opportunity today.
You bet, Brian. Doing awesome
Steve?
stuff. So questions?
Steve,
Yeah, Vaughn.
a short one. Yeah, Brian, thank you very much for this information. I'm really excited about that. I was looking at the website as you were reporting, so I could see it all of it. I'm at the Fred Giacosa Job Corps Center, so when you said workforce, you caught my attention immediately. What is the workforce development part that would put young people or adults into the workforce?
Yes, so that's the programming that we're looking at partnering with. We've already spoken with a gentleman that was at that's at Pima in their new area there. And so we're hoping to be able to partner with them for some of their immersive workforce development, dealing with auto mechanics or auto repair. We're also looking at some of the creative oriented workforce development that would deal with creative tools, the Adobe suite and some of the other creative tools that young people may want or need in order to perhaps start a small business or something like that.
Cool.
And if you have any other suggestions,
thank you
please
very
let
much,
us know.
Brian.
We'd love to talk with you about any of that which you're doing, which perhaps we may be able to partner with you on.
Yeah, we might explore that a little bit. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments for Brian?
Hi, Dr. Carter. This is Erin Lorandos from the State Library. We spoke way long ago.
Yes.
Thank you so much for the update. I really appreciate it. I believe that the telemedicine side of things might be more advanced than it was the last time we talked. And I wanted to check, I missed the name of the person you said you were working with in the libraries. Was that a U of A library person or a PCPL person?
That's a U of A library
Okay.
person. His name is Travis Teeter, Teeator, I believe it is.
Okay, and the reason I specifically bring that up is if I don't think I shared this with you because again, that part seems to have grown. But a number of the locations of the Pima County Public Libraries do have telehealth kits that were funded through the state library through LSTA grant funds. And so maybe we can reconnect about that and how that could help expand the project as well into the public library world. And that's a project that we're hoping to continue to expand across the state and are working on doing as well. So I'll email you about that.
Please do. That's
you.
very exciting. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I'd love to talk with you. Yes, let's
Of
please talk
course.
soon.
I will do. And then kind of piggybacking off of what Vaughn mentioned as well, are you working with the Office of Economic Opportunity on their Arizona Career Readiness certification at all? So let me just real quick give you this because I'm just recently trained as a person who can like teach people how to proctor it. So I don't have all of the script in my mind yet, but basically it is a self-guided and then proctored exam around workforce development skills. And it was actually built in conjunction with Arizona at Work and a number of employers in the state that were kind of highlighting some of the skills that they were seeing missing in their applicants. And there's a whole digital literacy certification as part of it. And then it also goes into, general use of computers and technology in workforce situations. And so if you haven't yet, I could either connect you with Andy Ridley from OEO, or we can talk about that when we talk about telehealth too.
Please do. Yes.
Okay,
Put
I'll
all
make
that
a
on the
list.
agenda. I love it. Thank you very much. That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Mala, you have your hand up?
Yes, Dr. Carter, we spoke, I know.
Yes. Hi, Mala.
From the State Library. Just this morning while I was on a Shelby call, I heard about Chattanooga. They are doing something very innovative with telehealth. And I wonder if you have heard about their program where they're actually giving Apple Watches to people that, the doctors recommend need monitoring. So they do have a very interesting model. And I'll put you in touch with the person who's working on it and maybe get out of your way so you can talk.
I would love to. Apple Watches, that's really interesting because I know those gather some really, really detailed analytics, and I'd be curious to see how they are secured. I would assume that they are,
Yes,
and transferred to doctors. That's going to be, that's
Yes,
great.
Yes,
Really
they
cool.
They're taking care of all the legal aspects of it as well.
That's awesome. Yes, please, let's talk about that.
And
So Mala,
replicate Arizona for us. I'm so excited.
Yes.
So before we go on, Robert, to you, Mala, one of the other areas that Brian and I spoke about this morning is cybersecurity.
Right.
And it's a challenge with his project, as it is with many of the other projects that we've talked about. Brian, do you want to say anything more about that at this point?
Well, yeah, actually, that we know that that cybersecurity is going to be implemented onto all, of course, all the devices that will be distributed to those that are part of the library distribution. But we are definitely interested in working with individuals who might be able to work with us for cybersecurity short courses at the Dunbar, because you can imagine that many communities that access high-speed networking probably have very little information about how to secure their own wireless access or even their own personal devices, whether it's their cell phone, their tablets, or whatever. So to develop a short course that would be easily consumable by a community that we can make available, I think would be really cool. So whomever we can get in touch with for that, I'd really appreciate it.
Dr. Carter, were you aware that FCC is working on a pilot project for security, which they want for cybersecurity, which would be right now, it looks like a 3-year program, but they're looking for innovative suggestions of what you would like to do with the money,
Yes.
and there's not too much. I think it's about, I want to say 3 million competitive grant, and it's a pilot project. So if you're thinking of creating a course and that's going to take up some money, that might be one of the places to apply for funding.
Definitely, I will look into that. Thank you very much, Mala. I appreciate that, because that's going to be good for the community to help with that kind of programming. I haven't seen anything like that connected to workforce development, because this is something that often we overlook when we're thinking about workforce or financial literacy. We often don't necessarily include cybersecurity in that whole thing because it's not part of what we think will forward someone's economic progress. But in all actuality, we know it really does, right?
Right, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And people may, apply for grants to actually do the cybersecurity, but I don't think anyone is looking at creating a course for cybersecurity that you're looking at. I'll keep you posted on when the
Okay.
notebook appears.
Thank you. Thank you. Perfect.
So Mala, again, this might be a good test case for Brian regarding cybersecurity and how it might be applicable in other places, particularly because of his relationship with the U of A library.
Right.
Right. And Steve, you put me in touch with Paul, and I think I actually know Paul. And so maybe definitely to partner with any others here that might know that or be experts in cybersecurity. I'd love to put something together that would be community consumable, a cybersecurity short course for both young and old, which I think will be challenging. But once if we do it correctly, it'll really be interesting, I think, and very important.
Okay. So Les, you got your hand up, and then Robert, you've got your hand up too. So Les, what do you got to say?
Well, I'm interested, Ryan. You've got obviously a lot of geography to cover, but you've got a lot of resources too. And I was interested in, do you need resources from the small business sector like ours, either in the consulting or subject matter expertise, particularly in the infrastructure, design, engineering, and implementation area, hardware and cybersecurity. Those are our areas that we work in. And so we implement, internet services, obviously, and then anything associated with that. And we have an MSSP program specifically that we're working on for schools right now. There's funding through the Universal Service Fund for a program called MIBS. And that stands for Managed Internal Broadband Services, and that can get funding. And so we've got some momentum, slow momentum there, but it's picking up. The real win is that the schools and the students can get this cybersecurity platform integrated with the hardware that gets implemented, as opposed to them having to become subject matter experts and learn how to put that into play and then maintain and manage it. And so I don't think that at this particular moment we can go into all of that, but I just wondered, is there a space in this for a company like ours to assist, or is it more kind of already baked in, with larger firms like Cox, et cetera?
See, it's not clear, at least not clear initially with Cox, how they will bake in or work with cybersecurity with Dunbar. And so that might be something we should definitely talk about, Les, because when I think about how we're trying to put together a set of programming that will be available for, say, a community center, an organization that is a community hub, and then we can spread that to other community hubs, that should be an integral part of the programming, cybersecurity for that organization, because you can imagine that community centers probably don't think as much about cybersecurity as they should with all those points of entry, right? And so I think that we should definitely talk about maybe some possibilities. I can find out what Cox is doing, but I would imagine they are working with securing their network, not necessarily with working with the individuals making use of the network and all those other points of entry that they have access to, from their wireless devices to maybe even connected computers. So let's definitely talk. I think we should.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, we look forward to maybe having some conversations.
Les,
Definitely. Thank you very much.
Are you planning to apply for some of that funding, or working with somebody that's going to apply for that, or you're just thinking about it at the moment?
Yeah, we actually are working with schools during the E-rate cycle right now for those that are we're kind of on the educational side right now, where we're going out and educating them on MIBs and how that can bring security layers to their infrastructure. One thing that's noteworthy, though, is that we're finding the most effective security layers are when they're integrated with the hardware vendor and they provide the whole fabric along with the hardware integrated. So we're a Fortinet SME, and we've adapted with Fortinet. We've been in all the other products and services out there over the years, whether it's Cisco or et cetera. But the point being is that we picked a lane and we want to make sure it's deep and wide. And so to answer your question succinctly, yes, we are going to market specifically with the MSSP security fabric and the hardware provided by Fortinet, and then implementing that by ultimately showing the schools how to apply for that MIBS funding, and then get that to cover the cost to implement those into single or multi-locations or hubs like you're talking about. And it's a process, it can take 3 to 5 years as you just start working through it because there's limited funds. But most schools, as you know, Steve, take a 3 to 5 year strategy. And once you can get them to adopt a uniform platform, then the implementation and the consistency and predictability becomes, real value add to maintaining and adding new cybersecurity threat capabilities and or hardware.
So I think that's going to be really important for a community center like Dunbar, because it's not just a community center with one mission. There are several small businesses within that facility. They plan to, I believe they still plan on doing something with sort of like an Airbnb kind of thing for short times. And so there's a lot of stuff going on in that community center, along with the community coming in to access the Small Business Development Center, as well as the community archive. And so thinking about how security, that's going to be a challenge to implement security across all of those different businesses that are within a community center. That, I think, will be a really interesting model to replicate in other locations around the state, which may have a similar setup.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Well said.
Robert?
Yeah. Hey, nice to meet you, Dr. Carter, and look forward to having some future conversations, doing some amazing stuff there. And yeah, I'd love to meet with you, maybe exchange information. We have a great workforce development team led by Terrence Pinkinson. And he has a VR program that he's been working on, and he's partnered up with like Intel and Boeing, and it's helping, kids right out of high school get jobs and stuff like that. So I think there could definitely be some partnerships there, and we just have a lot of other things going on as well. So hoping we can just exchange some information and maybe get together.
Well, you got my attention when you said VR. Anybody in VR, XR, MR, whatever. I think that's really the wave of the future for these kids that want to be immersed and want to engage with that kind of content very differently, because we all know they learn differently, right? So yes, I can't wait to talk with you, Robert. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So
Thanks.
Robert, can you just take a second for Dr. Carter? I told him a little bit about you guys, but you might want to just tell him a little bit more, particularly your reach in Arizona. Obviously, you're in a number of states, but particularly here in Arizona. So he's got a real sense of, where your reach is here.
Yeah, so our CPLC, we're like Steve said, right now we're in 5 states, right? And so we provide service, but we mainly are here and concentrated in Arizona. That's where we started. But we have a for-profit and non-for-profit type of business. So our for-profit feeds into our nonprofit because there are some programs that don't have funding, but the community needs it, right? And so that's where we feed that funding back into those areas. So I'm in charge of the technology here at CPLC. And so we are also leading the digital equity side of the house too. And as you can see from our grants that we recently got from the FCC, we have our team here on the meeting. Nubia, she's actually our lead for our ACP program. But we do, when COVID happened, we started with our, we started handing out anywhere from Chromebooks to whatever we could as far as devices, and we partnered with AZ Strut on that, and then we started with the ACP, and we partner with all ISPs on helping people connect, and so we have sites all the way up in northern Arizona all the way down to San Luis, Arizona, and so we have probably about 245 different types of federal contracts. And we just offer just a gamut of services, right? And we partner with a lot of different companies, right? Because you can't be experts at everything. And so a lot of our success has been through partnerships. So we're really looking at those types of deals. We believe in a hand up, not a handout. And so that's kind of our approach to things. But yes, definitely looking forward to talking with you, and we can talk more about our company and different things that we do. We're really focused, throughout the state of Arizona, especially, rural communities as well, because they're the ones that need right now. And so that's where we're really focusing our digital equity efforts, is those rural communities.
I love it. I love it. How have you found that rural communities accept some of the more advanced stuff? I mean, are you rolling out VR in rural communities, or are you taking a more traditional approach?
Right now, a more traditional approach. Our workforce development hasn't done the VR in the rural communities. That's something they're working on right now. They're looking at funding. They're looking at trying to get out there to the rural communities to get that VR approach going. Right now, they are in conversations with multiple companies right now and looking at doing that possibility, especially when you talk about getting internet out to communities. There isn't that workforce, right? And so they're in conversations with different ISPs to build a VR program that can train the workforce, the future, so that when they start getting that going, they can train people on how to support that, right? Because that's what's missing.
Yep, exactly.
So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. That's cool. Our grant did include some VR headsets and 3D printers and things like that for the community center, because we thought that instead of waiting and getting that later on, we might as well fund it so that we'll be able to start off with thinking more advanced with regards to our programming, as opposed to that being sort of an add-on later on, which will then appear as an add-on later on.
Right on. Yeah, that's the way to go for sure.
Yeah, cool. I can't wait to talk with you, Robert. Thanks.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Dr. Carter?
This is JT. Thank you, Dr. Carter. I just want to follow up with the last gentleman from CPLC. Excuse me, I apologize for that. And your inquiry about the acceptance of advanced technology like AR and VR in rural communities. I, at one time, was a leader of broadband operations and technology for rural parts of the upper Midwest and Mountain West in the United States. And to my surprise, where we were offering internet, people were using it in ways that you might not expect. So, for example, one time I walked into a room where the guy had 3 monitors up because he played games all day, right? And so he had 3 very widescreen monitors. And I asked him if he worked for NASA or somebody like that. He says, no, I need games. But the point is that, as you know, gamification has been a way of training people, right? Turning things into games. and extending, people's ability to think quickly and strategically. And so I think you will find the acceptance pretty high, particularly on younger folks and maybe some millennials who are still glued to their Xboxes and PS and their PlayStations.
Yeah,
So I think there's
Good to know.
a wonderful opportunity out there.
definitely.
Cool, that's good to know.
Any other questions or comments for Dr. Carter? So one thing I want to say, Brian, and I think you and I kind of talked about this earlier, but this is a real opportunity. This is, in my opinion, this is a really unique program that has some great potential for replication and outreach throughout the state. And it seems to me that if any of you are interested in working with Brian and helping to expand and make this a successful program, I think it'd be really useful, not only for him and for Southern Arizona, but I think also for the rest of the state. That's my opinion, or whatever it's.
Yeah, we just want to do it right, and we've gotten some great advice and partnership ideas from Steve, and please, any of you, we'd love to talk with you because I think this can be a really good model, and we want to just replicate it, and like Steve said, really do some good for the state. So we have a good potential here.
Okay.
I think
Any
Petra,
other-
did you have a hand up?
No, I was just clapping. I was just
Okay. Thank you.
because I agree.
Well, thank you, Brian. Thanks for coming back again, and look forward to your continued participation. And understand, I think you told me that you're going to have a new project manager soon. And that we
Yes,
expect to
that
see
person
him for-
started. That person started today, as a matter of fact. And so, yes, she hopefully will be able to start attending these meetings. And we're also working with Sharika, who also is a member of this group, and we're very excited to continue working with her as well.
Awesome. So a good transition. So Petra, since you, even though you weren't ready to speak, but can you give us a quick update? Tell people who you are and about the ACP program and where you are with implementation at this point, please.
Sure. I'm Petra Falcon. I'm the Executive Director of Promise Arizona, and we've been engaged in the last 12 years in Arizona doing some significant community engagement, primarily in South Phoenix. And we extend arms to other underserved communities, especially in Guadalupe, Yuma County. I organized in Yuma for about 10 years, working along the border with churches and schools for another 10 years. So I've been a community organizer most of my adult life, and that's almost 40, 50 years. But we did apply for ACP grant because we thought it was a great follow-up to working with the city of Phoenix with the development of a community plan for the light rail that we're now building, a $500 million light rail in South Phoenix. We really thought that would really be a great wraparound effort so that we could really do some transformative organizing in South Phoenix that would include education, that would include workforce, that would include legal services for immigrants, and also just addressing the multiple issues still facing families in South Phoenix, where 80% of the school children are on free or reduced lunch. And I just go on and on and on. But I just think that ACP is a great follow-up to the work that's already been being done now in South Phoenix. And we're just enjoying the engagement. I mean, that's what we do. And that means door knocking, that means going to schools, that means going to community groups, community events, and at a 2-hour event on Saturday, we signed up 60 families for ACP. So and we're doing that follow-up today. So we're learning a lot about the follow-up process, because I think it's going to be very, very important across the board. We can sign people up for ACP, but if they don't talk immediately to a provider, or if they don't know where to do that connection, we're going to lose them. So we've been doing lots of follow-up with the people that we're talking to. But that's where we're at, and obviously we're all in the same time frame with the grants just coming in mid-June. So we're doing a little catch up, but that's okay. And hopefully, once the heat lessens, I think that's going to be a really, really good opportunity for us to be doing some good engagement out there.
Great. And Brian, are you familiar with ACP? Affordable Connectivity Program? Okay, so while we're talking about ACP, Nubia, you want to kind of give us an update? What's happening with CPLC?
Yes.
Before we move on, could I ask Petra one quick question, Steve? Petra, you mentioned legal services, and I'm curious as to whether any of those services, or if any of you know if those kinds of services can be offered online. And I'm wondering if that's part of the programming that can or is allowed to be incorporated into into some of the programming that, say, we're doing, and how that can be a part of the model. Does anybody have any experience with that?
Well, you're talking about traditionally an N-400, which allows a person who is already a permanent legal resident, they have permission to be in the United States legally. And the next process after that is becoming naturalized, becoming a citizen. And so, yes, we can do that online. It takes some navigating because we still need some documents from the applicant, but that can also be scanned and sent back to us. During COVID, we did a lot of that. We did a lot of online work, a lot of online appointments and scanning and just coming back and forth and making sure that we had the documents that the application needed. Yes. So the quick answer is yes, we can do that online.
Okay. Any other questions for Petra before we move on? If not, Nubia, do you want to introduce yourself and kind of give us an update what's happening with you guys?
Absolutely. I do have to apologize. I don't know what's going on with my camera, trying to play around with it. So I do apologize for that. But
No problem.
yes, my name is Nubia Estrada. I'm the ACP administrator with Chicanos por la Causa. We are under the great leadership of Robert Alvarado and Lupe Valenzuela, who couldn't make it today. As Eric mentioned earlier, he's one of our coordinators. We just hired our second coordinator last week, so we're really excited to have Betty Aispuro on our team. She also couldn't make it today, but we really did start kind of rolling with the ACP program. We had several events this weekend, not just in Phoenix, but also in Las Vegas. We're really excited about that. We had a total overall in our events, a little bit over 1,200 attendees, direct outreach of over 300 people. We had 33 enrollments, and we currently have 54 follow-ups between Phoenix and Las Vegas that we're going to coordinate some follow-up events for them to come and finish their application, and just get them connected and then partner with ISP. So they, it becomes a one-stop shop where they are able to enroll in ACP, the Affordable Connectivity Program, and then, we can hand them over to their ISP of their choice. So we're in Maricopa County. That's where we had our event. Also, we have some events we have an event in Cochise County next Friday. So we're getting prepared for that. And then, like I mentioned, in Clark County in Vegas as well. And we're already planning to go back later this month as well.
Okay, any questions for Nubia? Going once, going twice. If not,
Do you have any events? Do you have any events scheduled for Pima County by chance? I may have missed it. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. So right now we don't have any, but we are getting our calendar together. So we are planning to reach out to Pima, like Tucson, and Yuma as well. So our goal is to reach 8 counties. So we have Maricopa, Pima, Yuma, Pinal, Cochise, Graham, Santa Cruz, and Coconino. So we're starting off slowly but surely, and our goal is to reach those counties.
Okay, any other questions?
I just had a question, I guess, or a point. Has there been any interaction with JTED? They've got a really great program with young students in the technology sectors. We've talked with them a little bit about possibly working with them to help deploy some ideas like this. If we needed to put broadband or routers, et cetera, out in the field, then they get hands-on. We just kind of do some, if you will, supervision of it and some preliminary training, but get them some real experience. And they've got a cybersecurity program and just a lot there that might intertwine with what you're trying to accomplish, where they've already got a program written or a concept that could be taken to the marketplace.
That's a great idea. I spoke with someone from JTED, gosh, maybe back in January, before all of this got up and running. So I'll reach out to them again. That's really a good idea. Thank you very much, Les.
Yeah,
Brian, I can help you with that. I know the JTED people very well.
Yep.
I know the
Perfect.
superintendent and a number of the other folks over there. So, and
perfect.
Juan,
Thank you.
if Juan is still online, I know he knows those people well also.
Great.
So I can definitely
Okay.
help you with that.
Steve, just a quick question. Which of the stakeholders here would be primarily concerned with the cybersecurity aspects of these programs? Is there a central point of contact, or just an association of folks that have that general interest or requirement?
So the answer, at least my answer is, and maybe others have some thoughts, we've actually been talking about wanting to create a team regarding cybersecurity. We have been talking with the, with Homeland Security, and also the Department of Education has a relationship with them for the schools. And as Brian mentioned, I just sent him the contact information with the U of A Information Insurance Institute. And so there are a number of those folks, and we've been talking about, I know Mal is probably pissed at me that we haven't brought these people together yet, but we do need to convene folks and kind of map out how we can best collaborate and make sure that security is included in all of the funding that's going on.
Steve, well, I'll try to reach out to you separately to see if I can help out in that area.
That'd be great. If we can find somebody like you to take the lead, I'd be a happy camper.
You may have found someone.
Cool.
And Steve, John Huss here. I'm working with a number of groups throughout the state. ASU has spearheaded a group called the Center for the Future of Arizona. And we recently in Mesa had the cybersecurity K through 12 national conference for cybersecurity. And so there was an awful lot of very interesting speakers there and other states that were looking at broadband initiatives. So I'll be glad to also help out and representing Northern Arizona instead of Southern. But we have similar problems because I'm told that this internet doesn't care about borders.
That's just a rumor. You'll believe anything.
Just a rumor.
Actually, we do have one of their people, although we haven't seen him recently, with the Center for the Future of Arizona, who has been participating in this task force. But like I said, he's been pretty busy lately. But I wasn't aware of that. But I know there are different groups. But John, can you tell me about the focus? We've got different groups who are focusing on different aspects of cybersecurity. Some who are focused on how do we educate a future workforce in cybersecurity. And then there's, at least from my perspective, one of the key issues is now that we're connecting all these people, we're giving them devices and internet and all of that stuff, and they don't even know how to turn on a computer. How are we going to help them to make sure that they're secure at various levels?
Right. And that's why it should really start always with education. There should be an onboarding. And if we don't have an onboarding, there's lots and lots of resources out there from places like DHS, et cetera. But just because you have a lot of information doesn't mean that people who are excited about plugging in their computer will bother to read it until something goes wrong. So I do think it's incumbent upon us as we're delivering it to make onboarding a mandatory portion of it, because the last thing we want to do is be seen as a vector for infection for the rest of the place if people aren't aware. And so basic cyber hygiene is important. And we're doing things here in Yavapai County for, I call it K through 80. Because believe it or not, older folks are great targets because they are oftentimes unaware. Younger folks are too bold and they think they know everything already. And so they're great targets too, because they're too they think too much of themselves. So both of them are great targets. It's a bimodal distribution, and we need to educate them all.
Great. Thanks, John. So it looks like I need to get you and JT together and a couple other folks and see how we can move this this process along sooner rather than later. That'd be awesome. Okay. Anything else?
I am working with
Oh, sorry.
Ryan at DHS.
Yeah. And Ryan, we don't see him very often, but Ryan has been a part of this group and we've had several conversations with him. And as you may know, he's also been working quite a bit collaboratively with the Arizona Department of Education in being able to help support the needs of the schools. So he's absolutely a critical person to be involved with us. Okay, anything else? If not, let's move on to some updates quickly. Mala, you want to give us an update on what's happening?
Just a very quick update. I know we are running short of time. I'm tracking the USF, as you know, the Universal Service Funding issue. And very recently, Senator Ben Lujan, the US Senator for New Mexico, has a USF working group where he's seeking comments by August 25th on some of the issues. I'll put the link in the chat once I'm done talking. He has some very powerful people in his working group. Senator Thune, Klobuchar, Capito, Peters, Moran, all are a part of the working group that's working on USF. As you know, that there has been court cases going on about it in Circuit 5. This is the second time it's come up again, even though the first time it was upheld. And there's still a lot of back and forth going on about how the money is being collected. The questions that the comments that they are seeking are based on questions like, is the collection mechanism that they're doing currently fine? Do we need, a larger base? Transparency of the collection process, the legitimacy of it, supporting high cost and rural healthcare, and all those, and of course addressing fraud and abuse. Now, this Universal Service Fund is vital for us for E-rate because that's the base from the collection base for the internet payment that we receive for schools and libraries. So, it's really vital that some of us at least answer the questions that they have posted. So I think that is something I wanted to share. Our other programs, we have our AZLA coming up. That is our conference, our library conference coming up, and that's in October. And we are looking at the BEAD funding, programming for BEAD funding for DE, digital equity, for connectivity, and a lot of other things. So I'll keep you posted more about what's happening at that conference. If any of you would like to attend, that would be great. Otherwise, I don't have anything else to report. Back to you, Steve.
Okay. Thanks. Any questions for Mala? So Aaron, do you have anything else that you want to report? Are you still here? Aaron, you still here? Maybe she's gone. Yeah, it looks like she may be gone. Okay, so do we have the Department of Education here today? I don't think so. Okay, anybody have any other updates that they want to provide today? Mark, you want to say something about, are you still here? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So Mark, you want to say anything about the, next week, we're going to talk about the, working on the plan for the Arizona Technology Council. You want to say anything about that?
Sure, just put links in the chat. As usual, for the last dozen years, probably, I'm writing the broadband policy sections for the Tech Council's public policy guide. Big state and federal sections for broadband, about 6 pages each, evolves over the years. A lot of post onset of the pandemic and anticipation and details about the current fundings in there. Generally, revisions or modest year to year, been adding digital equity, all the new flows and other things. So we do invite you to take a look at it. Sandeep has been engaged by the Tech Council to partner with me. I hope to meet with him this week. And I'm not sure how much we'll have next Monday, but I'll be rolling up my thoughts, hopefully his, and things I get from some of you perhaps. So Steve was kind enough to put the Word doc, the breakout for the policy broadband sections online. So there's an online link in the chat, or for the whole guide, which is quite a thing. It's really, there's probably 40 people that work on that get the lead assignments for as teams or individually for sections. It's really quite a process. So this is just the broadband part, and I guess we'll take some time next Monday to walk through what seem to be the new areas or possibilities for it. So thanks.
Yep. So next Monday, we're gonna review that document, which is actually, I guess, the old document plus any of the changes that Mark's already made. And then
I'll have a markup for next Monday.
Okay. Well, and obviously we get it sooner, that's great. So when I send out the update, that if we have an updated version, that'd be great.
Not likely. Don't count.
Okay. Okay. But anyway, I think we're going to take a good deal of time at the next meeting to focus on that document, so that you all have an opportunity to provide your thoughts. So
And I did want to, for updates, I did want to ask Heather, who I saw attended a meeting with Senator Sinema. I saw Janet Major and Sandeep were there, some big broadband meeting. Heather, would you tell us a bit about how that came about and what may have happened there?
Hold on a second.
Oh, okay. I chased her away.
No. I had my door open and I'm sure my coworkers don't want to hear everything. The ACA reached out and they held a industry roundtable with Senator Sinema, and basically was an update from both sides where ACA was with the grants and where they were with the BEAD process. And Senator Sinema did reach out to us and ask us what hurdles at the federal level that we might be incurring as we implement building out these grants, and how she could be of assistance to help alleviate those. So it was a short, quick 1 hour meeting, but I think some great connections were made and it was very productive. And it was encouraging to hear. So she wrote that bill, the Arizona Capital Grants. I'm getting the name mixed up. Anyway, she helped write that bill. And besides writing it, she wants to follow up and make sure it's implemented correctly. So she didn't just take that victory. She wants the boots on the ground and making sure obstacles are cleared for us. And that was fantastic to hear. She also had Joy Whiting there from Apache County. As you all know, Joy used to be on these calls quite often, and she's the champion up there. So that was great to see. And she had Janet Major talking about telemedicine. So she brought some great players to the table for us to just have a great discussion and see how we can cover all of Arizona.
Great, thanks, Heather. glad you were able to, on the spot, give us that. Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Okay, any other announcements, updates that anybody needs to share with us today before we're done? So those of you who have been with us know that if you choose to hang around for a little bit, that we do our kibitzing with colleagues. We'll stop the recording, and anybody who wants to stay online for a while to talk about anything or share anything, and if there isn't, then we will be done for today. So with that, hey, Kirk, is there anything you want to say about upcoming conference?
There's a Arizona Rural STEM Conference up in Flagstaff coming up in August. I'm getting ready to put the link, and I'll send you the link too, so you can add that to the stuff. But
Okay.
other than that, that's all I can think of right now. And nice update, Heather. I've been dying to hear that from you, and it's awesome. Thank you so much, and thanks for representing.
You're very welcome. Glad to represent rural. That's my go-to.
And then Kirk's involved in the program for it. This Tech Council has their 7th annual IoT and Smart City Conference. Sandeep is a speaker. I'm not sure whether a panelist or a keynote, but that'll be an interesting event where
we'll have a dedicated broadband panel.
Right.
And hopefully Sandeep is the moderator with a whole bunch of other stakeholders.
What's the date on that, Kirk? September what?
September 19th.
19th.
And it's going to be the ASU SkySong. And I'll
SkySong,
get us a special AZBSN code.
I just want to say I finally met Sandeep in person outside of the Zoom square.
Yeah,
I think he's younger in person.
Isn't that amazing?
Still extremely intelligent and brilliant.
Yeah, he looks
but
young.
younger in person.
Yeah,
me too. I have more hair in person.
He's like a doctor. What was that show, Dr. Doozy Howard, or what was that show?
Oh, Doogie Howard.
Yeah, where he's like a 12-year-old genius. I mean, Sandeep is amazing. He's really, really amazing guy.
Doogie Howser. That's
Doogie
my
Howser,
contribution to the call. Doogie Howser.
Hi, Lucy. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Kirk?
Awesome.
Okay, I'm going to stop recording, and then if you want to hang around.